Political analyst Asanda Ngoasheng joins us now to give us a sense and understanding of Tito Mboweni's contribution in the political space. Thank you so much, Asanda, for your time. It's always great being with you. So as we continue paying tribute to the man that was, now the late former minister Tito Mboweni, let's really maybe delve into the archives in terms of his political history, where it all began as a political activist back in the 1980s, then ultimately Minister of Labour in 1994 to 98, essentially ushering him into the governor's seat in 1999.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I think Tito has a very interesting record and a very interesting history. He started out as and studying towards a BCom at the North University back in the 80s, and then he didn't finish that degree and went off to exile in Lesotho. Yeah, that's when he started doing his work for Congress, and I think as you know, a big role as a labor minister in forming the ways in which labor laws were implemented in South Africa, and basically ensuring that South Africans who were workers, their rights and to unionize, because that's something that didn't exist in South Africa. Partake. People were not allowed to talk about the negative conditions that they were experiencing, and they didn't have experiencing some harsh treatment as laborers or as workers. And so important contribution made, a very critical contribution as the Reserve Bank governor, which was a role that hadn't been held by a Black person. He embodied it, and we also had quite a connection with Cassper Nyovest singing that song Tito Mboweni, because he was the first Black man to be governor and therefore to have his signature for South Africa's money. But I do think that, many have critiqued the ways in which he drove South Africa with Thabo Manuel and the others that are the so-called class of 96, pushed for gear and other neoliberal policies, which people are as having failed South Africa and led us to this are now 5% Africans social grants. But I think, a very difficult time that both and him were leading, particularly in the case, and it would have been very difficult to follow other policy outside of neoliberal policies, because that is in terms of economics, because it's happening in a effectively where we're going the neoliberal route. But the question that many has asked is, was it necessary to do the full neoliberal policies? So there is, a mixed legacy in that, as I say, labor laws and policies that he put in place to get people who work with as leaders of the ANC Economic Policy Transformation Group, policies that really have set South Africa aside in terms of our labor policies. But others are saying, on the other hand, lead us to the state that we are in now, where we're sitting with 45% of
just talking about that mixed legacy there, Asanda, I spoke to the Deputy Minister of Finance earlier on, Mr. David Masondo, who obviously, had, of course, the pleasure of working with the late governor. And he was saying, Tito Mboweni took a very hard stance on borrowing and spending by the state, often making him the agony uncle, so to speak, when it comes to policy and as well as other issues related to how the country actually goes about and actually spends that money so that it does not result to fruitless spending. All right, I understand we have lost you there, Asanda. We're going to try and re-establish that link with you in a short while.